Hello and welcome to Across the Pond Aces. Back, it's playoffs. We're in the semi-finals, and it's looking kind of. It's not looking easy, but we're cruising. Samantha is back
I am.
this week. Samantha, after you taking your NFL bye week last week, how are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm taking another NFL bye week again next week, so there will be somebody else in my place. I mean, truth be told, I needed that definitely much needed NFL bye week. I didn't just click auto play, sim to next game. I think like you said, it hasn't been easy, but we're getting to it. You know, we saw
We
us
are.
play Dallas during the season, and we lost one of the games to Dallas. So, going in now, we're in playoff mode. Playoff mode is so different than regular season mode, and we're feeling it. We're feeling good, and we know what our end goal is.
For sure. Before we continue, we do want to give a big thanks to Cass, the Aces Crusader, who was on the show last week, stepped in for Samantha, came on as a guest.
Thank you.
We got some great engagement from that show, from the Aces family. So it was nice. And yeah, maybe she'll be back next week. You never know. Maybe.
Listen, I
Uh,
mean, yeah, we have to see who's gonna be it. It's gonna be like, where's Waldo? Except
here's Waldo.
we'll see.
See, we have a different thing. It's where's Wally? It's weird in the States you have to call everything something a bit different just to
I mean, we have the cool version. We have where's Waldo? Like,
how's that the cool version? Where's
I mean,
Wally?
Waldo is cooler than Wally. Like Wally, I think of the Disney movie.
That's Wall-E, not
That's Wally,
Wally.
the same thing, you just said the same thing, Wally Wally, like, that's literally the same thing.
They're spelled totally anyway, let's get on to the
EY,
aces.
I mean, alright, let's get back to regular scheduled news.
So, Michelob Ultra Arena in downtown Las Vegas, game 1 of the semifinals, against the Dallas Wings, and I have to say 97-83, it's kind of it kinda looks like a regular season game that we would have. We started pretty alright, but the second half, well, particularly the 3rd quarter, that's when we kinda started to get out there, and we held them to 12 points in the 3rd quarter. We did let them sneak back in a little bit in the 4th quarter, but I think, garbage time at the end, that doesn't really count. But phenomenal performance, and not just from Asia. Asia is obviously awesome. She scored 34 points. But Kelsey Plum, I think for the first time this season, really stood out. And, you know, when you have I'm going to call them the famous five, because like when you have a starting five that could all make all star games,
Oh, yeah.
and like I think Kelsey may have struggled this year with that kind of team dynamic and finding her place, but she scored 25. Like she went off and she had herself a great game. She scored 50% from 3 point. I think she was 53 from the field. She just was so good. One thing I did like, Alicia Clark played 20 minutes, but we seen Kirsten Bell play for about 6 or 7 minutes as well, and that was so good to see
Oh, yeah.
because Bell especially, like, I think is deserving of more minutes. And it was nice to see her get some playoff minutes
Yeah.
under her belt. Kia Stokes, sadly, with only 2 points, but when you've got someone scoring 25, someone scoring 34, four, like, yeah, yeah, it's fine. Kia, you just rebound the heck out of everything. It's absolutely fine. Um, Jackie Young had a double double. Now Jackie Young, like we're talking Jackie Young had a double double in rebounds and points.
Yeah.
19 points, 10 rebounds. She also close to a triple double, by the way, because she had 7 assists.
Listen, I mean, I think like you said, playoff mode is so different, but, going back to what you said about Bell, she got I think it's tough, right? Because we saw this last season with her. She maybe got what, 2, 3 minutes a game, if that at times last year. So being now in her second year, going in it, she's had games where she's really like done well and shown herself. I think 6 minutes was great, right? Because especially like you said, when you have your key players having 25 points, 34 points, even Jackie with 19 and 10, I think it's tough to be able to like you don't want to build up, you don't want to like lose that momentum, but you also want to still like give them a little bit of a rest. So, she had 6 minutes coming in. She had a rebound, right? Like, and I think for the time that she had, she did what she had to do, right? She didn't score any points the first game, but she still was there. She still showed what it was to be part of the team. I think that's amazing. You know, the Aces that we've always talked about this every like, this whole season we've talked about how amazing they've been. They're a key 5 and we're seeing it. When one of them is having a little bit of an off night, they're assisting each other. And not just because it's a basketball play of words, but they're assisting each other. So, I think it we're showing what it is. We're showing what needs to be done.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned awards there. Defensive Player of the Year was given to Asia Wilson. Most
Yes.
Improved was given to Alicia Clark. Well done to them both for that. However, the timing of these awards was noted that the Defensive Player Award wasn't to be given out until later on in the month, but then suddenly got pushed forward all of a sudden. And then we have this kind of couple of days where it's kind of like, so take it Brianna's just going to get MVP. And I'm going to be honest, right? If AT had won from the Sun, had been given the MVP, I have zero complaints. Brianna winning MVP, she had a great season. There's no doubt about that. I don't think she had an Asia season. I don't think she had an ATA season.
No.
I I personally think she was third place. What I'd like to know is where all the media members who vote. I would like to know where they're all from
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think there's an East Coast bias,
Yeah.
like massively. If we look at the voting, and we will mention one particular vote that has
Uh,
got under my skin. Alyssa Thomas actually had more first round votes by 3. She had 3 more than Brianna Stewart. Where Brianna Stewart won it was the second round, because the second round is worth more points. Now, I am going to go on about points and scoring and all this kind of stuff. This isn't a basketball game. This is voting for an MVP. Now, whatever happened to you're a member of the media, you have one vote. You can use that to vote for an MVP. Who would you like it to be?
yeah.
Why do we have, so we've got what, 40, 50, 60 media members who are allowed to vote for MVP. Why in the heck are they getting to vote 5 times? Like, why don't,
Sucks.
like, you just have it like an election where you
Yeah.
have one vote, one person,
Yeah.
and then at the end you've got 60 votes have been put out. So if they'd done that, Alyssa Thomas would be the MVP
Yeah.
without a doubt. In round 3, Alyssa Thomas would be MVP because she got 25, Brianna Stewart got 17, and Asia Wilson got 17. So, like in the first 3 rounds, Alyssa Thomas has actually won. But because she only got 12 in the second round, and I think the issue was Asia Wilson kind of split the vote in those first 2,
Yeah.
and she ended up with 25 in the second round. It just, now that is not all that grinds my gears. Fourth round, Asia Wilson gets a vote in the fourth round. I would like to know that member media, the name of that member media, because I think that person needs a good slap around the chops. That is just, that's insulting to me.
I was very
If you,
surprised.
yeah,
It was you heard Asia's name, I think, the most this season. I'm not just going based off of, like, whose name you heard the most this season, but she had an unbelievable season this year. She was breaking records left and right. Like, don't get me wrong, Brianna Stewart had a good season too. But I think, and I'm not just saying this because we cover the Aces. I wanna say Asia had a, like, unbelievable season. She was somebody that, like, everybody was even, like, LeBron James was talking about her. Like, it's been people know more of her, and okay, like, people are gonna hate me for this comment. People know more of of Asia Wilson right now than they would have maybe Brianna Stewart, and I'm just saying that.
No, you're right, and I think and me and Michelle mentioned this on the WNBA show. Maybe you have your MVP as in stats,
Yeah,
and your MVP is the stat leader, and that's your MVP. But then you have a second award for Player of the Year,
yeah.
and that's the one you've won, and that is the one where it's more the eye test, like who has who has dragged their team to
Oh, yeah.
victories, who's dragged their team to playoffs, who's who has blood, sweat, and tears all over the floor to
Oh,
get
yeah,
their team into the playoffs. Again, Alyssa Thomas wins. like any way you look at it this year, Alyssa Thomas should be the MVP. I am obviously a huge Asia Wilson fan as well, and yes, she's been breaking records, but the triple double thing, is insane, and it's not even just a triple double; it's the amount of points she scores.
yeah,
When she's not getting triple doubles, it's the amount of rebounds she gets when she's not getting triple doubles. They're always high numbers,
yeah,
and I think again, and I feel bad for the Connecticut Sun, but I think because of the market that they're in, and
yeah,
because they've got big bully boy New York Liberty off to the east, I think they got overlooked, and I feel so bad for Alyssa Thomas.
yeah,
Yes, I wanted Asia Wilson to win it, obviously,
yeah,
but I think if you put your if you take your rose tinted Aces goggles off, then I think AT deserved it, and I genuinely feel bad for her.
yeah. I mean, like you said, was it maybe the East Coast, like, voting? Like, where are these people coming from? Because I don't again, who would depending on who won, would we be having a different conversation? Of course, right? Like, fans of her, like Brianna Stewart would be upset. Fans of Asia are upset. Like, obviously, I think it's perception, and I guess we'll see. I mean, Asia, you know what she's fighting for next season.
Yeah.
She's gonna make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
that they definitely people are not going to ever think anything else.
Yeah. There's definitely gonna be a run-in next year,
Oh yeah,
um, for sure. Now, let's move on to happier times. Game 2 of the semi-finals, and back at Michelob Ultra Arena, and Aces win, and all honesty, it looks a little more comfortable.
yeah,
I think we started this game strong. We held them to under 20 points a quarter for the first 2 quarters. We kinda let it go in the 4th, but I think, garbage time kinda plays into that. They scored 27, we scored 21, but in the other 3 quarters, we pretty much won. So, the second quarter doesn't really count. We only gave up a point there. I just love how this team goes out, and it doesn't matter who it is. Someone is gonna go off.
yeah,
Asia Wilson was, in the 30-point range again, and I
yeah,
think that was kind of on purpose. But and Kelsey Plum still scored 18 points, but it was Chelsea
exactly.
Gray with 23.
Yeah,
She stepped up, and you still had Jackie Young. You had Asia Wilson with double double because she had 11 rebounds as well. This game slightly different. So Alicia Clark did play a bunch of minutes again, 17,
yeah,
18 minutes. It was Kayla George, that actually played in this one. We
yep,
didn't see Kirsten Bell at all. It's kinda sad, but she played, just over 4 minutes, which is good. I think it's good maybe to change things up a bit. Kia Stokes doubled her score from the night before, scoring 4 points, so well done for Kia. Um, Rebounding about the same as well. But when you look through the stats, the numbers have changed people, but the numbers are still pretty much the same.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think they've been consistent over the last like all the games. Like, it doesn't matter who's doing it. you're seeing very similar numbers. You're seeing like if it's not one having a great night, it's the other. So they're kind of like I don't know if in the locker room they're maybe like, oh, tonight it's your turn.
It's your
Like they're picking a name from a hat. Like
but but that's what it's looked like all season. Like,
yeah,
although we're saying, they've upped a gear because it's the playoffs and, when you enter the playoffs, the intensity starts to grow the further you get into the playoffs.
oh yeah,
But when you look at the numbers are still pretty much on on a par with what they were in the regular season. Everyone's kinda hitting the same, but I think probably defensively, we seem to be just maybe a bit more that seems to be where the intensity
yeah,
is in our defense, and I think Asia is obviously she speaks for herself. I mean, she's defensive player of the year. But when you have someone like Alicia Clark who can come in, like she's been phenomenal all season. Well, probably underrated by a lot of
yeah.
teams because a lot of teams look at the starting five and then forget, oh, Alicia Clark's it. Until Alicia Clark's comes and steals the ball or gets a big rebound or something. So um, again, like a very very good performance. Now we're going into Friday night game in Dallas.
Yeah.
What do you think Dallas have learned from these 2 games? Because Satu has not been in these games. Arike can go off. Like like she for me is a real danger, and she can go off. But she's hitting mid 20s.
I think it's gonna be this game. I think game 3 because we're playing, like, in Dallas. I think it's gonna sorry, not yeah, in
Yeah,
Dallas.
Dallas. Yeah,
They play technically in Arlington, which I guess is Dallas. I don't know, I'm not too familiar with Texas. Honestly, I think it's gonna be closer than we're expecting, right? Because I think I wanna say Aces win, but I think they're gonna have a little more fight in them, right? They don't wanna, like, just be like, "Alright, like, we're done," unless they're looking to go on vacation already. But, I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I think they're gonna fight a little harder, right? Especially with them being at home in front of their fans. I say it's gonna be a close game, but I think the Aces are just gonna do it.
yeah. I kind of feel bad. And you're talking about players going on holiday. I've already seen Nafisa Collier in Turkey playing for Fenerbahce or training camp for Fenerbahce. So like, let's be real here. WNBA players, like the WNBA season might be over, but their
Yeah,
year isn't
they don't go on
over.
holiday. They go overseas already the moment they can.
Pretty much, like she's there with a couple of other Minnesota players.
Yep.
Um, Enrique is a real worry for me. The other side of that coin is Satu. She's been pretty much non-existent for the first 2 games. If she suddenly comes alive, combined with Enrique, that could be dangerous. I think Odyssey Sims, her defense can be stellar. Um, Kalani Brown coming in, she's got a few points to prove as well.
Yeah.
So, but I think the Wings are a year away from making a playoff final.
Yeah.
I think you get this team together for another year, and at the end of the next season, like I genuinely think we could see the Wings like pushing for a
Oh, yeah.
finals a final spot because, and I mean at the beginning of this season, I'd have said they were 3 years away, but the way Latricia Tramwell has got them playing, I mean, we knew she was a phenomenal coach at the Sparks.
Yeah.
She knew. I mean, it's no secret I'm no big fan of Derek Fisher. Um,
Is anyone?
Derek Fisher, but, like I always had this idea that Latricia was pretty much running that team, and Derek was just kind of the mouthpiece, um, which is pretty much all he is, anyways. So I I always thought that she was kind of pretty much in charge, and when she didn't get the Sparks job when he left, I was like, "Come on, like, give me a break." But when she went and got the Dallas gig, I was like, "They're now tough. They've got Arike already. They've got Satu, and then you add in a coach like Tricia. This proves. I mean, you've seen what the Sparks have done this season, albeit a lot of injuries and stuff. Sparks were nowhere near the playoffs. Well, they were. took to the last day of the season, but like they were pretty much out of the playoff run most of the season anyway. But they had a couple of good games. I mean, they did beat the Aces
I
one
think,
time.
I mean, going to the Sparks, I mean, Kurt knows what he's doing, right? He is definitely somebody who is, I think I'm a huge fan of him as a coach. I think he's a really great guy too. And to see him, go into a rebuilding, right? Like go into the Sparks where and and show that they could still work. They knew, like you said, injuries, of course, were, but he knew what he was doing, and I think that was great for him, right? Liked him in Connecticut. He was very good with his team. He knew exactly what to do with them. And now seeing him out in LA, like let's hope that they work on the things that they needed to tweak and they can get to it next year.
The best bit of business that he did this year was signing Carly Samuelson.
Mhm.
That was the best bit of business that he could have done. She's actually we're talking about players already abroad. She's already played 2 games for London.
I did see that.
Um, like it's I still find it bemusing how like the whole wage thing, but like we see all these players already out and abroad.
Yeah.
The interesting to see which aces, if any aces, go abroad.
I think,
Maybe something
going on
staying on
that,
the bench.
I wanna say we'll see Bell go overseas. We'll probably see hmm, I mean, obviously, your starting 5 is not going overseas. You're
No,
not
no.
gonna do but I think those players that really haven't gotten too much of a chance this season, who have been more of, like, the bench players, I think you'll see them overseas.
They need to go over. I think if anything else, like as much as you kind of wish they didn't have to do it and they could stay home and do training camps all summer, all winter. If you are going to go abroad, like make the most of it.
Yeah.
Like, yes, one, get paid,
Yeah.
and then two, like go out there and just like shoot the lights out,
Yeah.
so that when you do come back, you can command more money when it
Oh,
comes
yeah.
to the WNBA contract. And we're gonna have two new teams next year, so like people this year that are maybe on the cusp of being cut or maybe like on emergency hardship contracts and all this kind of stuff, those people could end up playing for one of those expansion teams,
Yeah.
and going in. So like everyone's in the shop window this year, I feel. So like especially if you're like on a bench at the
Oh, yeah.
moment, like you're in the shop window, and those two franchises that are going to start up next season, they've been watching all season. So like we could see some real movement, which kind of worries me. Because if we see some real movement, that could mean Alicia Clark, that could mean Kirsten Bell, could be going Sydney Colson. So yeah, that's the only thing that worries me about
Oh,
the
yeah, I feel that.
expansion.
I think that's the part that, like, sucks, right? Because if they leave and they're on a team that they'll be able to get the minutes and show what they can do, it's kind of like they're these are obviously players. Becky believes in them, but Becky's also like, I believe in them, but I have these top 5 that I know and I trust it. So it's kind of like, well, another coach may give them an opportunity and they can show what they really can do when they're not having to play against for minutes for, with Kelsey, with Jackie, with Asia. Like, and I think that's the part that gets them where it's like, all right, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and I think expansion drafts always are because
Yeah.
there is usually well, the way expansion drafts usually work is there's a couple of players that are kind of expansion eligible, and when you have a short bench like we do, that doesn't leave very much room for
Yeah.
maneuver. So it might actually mean that we keep draft picks this summer,
Yeah. Yeah.
because usually we don't keep our draft picks. Usually we draft and then go.
Cut.
So
I
it
mean, you
could
saw it
mean
last season for sure. We drafted what? We kept Kirsten last year. We kept Asia Shepherd last year. We had Kayla Pointer, who we did not keep. Trying to think who else, and there was a couple others that we did not keep. And I think that's the part where it's like, well, let's see.
yeah. Well, we will see. Now, do we think then that this will be a win on Friday night, and then we can relax Sunday and watch some football?
I mean, I know what I'm doing Friday. I mean, I know what I'm doing Sunday. I will be watching football Sunday. That's and Saturday and Monday. But I honestly think, we will definitely I want to say they're going to win on Friday.
I think so too. Given I'll be in London at the Jags Falcons game, covering that, I think I kind of want us to win tomorrow. So
Yeah.
like, because otherwise I'm gonna have to go back to my hotel and stay up and watch. I think it's on. It's at like 1 a.m. So my time. So I'll have to stay up and watch that. But I think regardless, I think we've had a stellar season.
Oh
The
yeah.
award season has went well for us, I think. We won Defensive Player of the Year. We got Sixth Person of the Year. So I think we've done pretty well, and now we just need to get over this Dallas hump tomorrow, and then wait for either the Sun or the Liberty in the finals.
Yeah.
And because I don't think I don't think the Liberty expected us to sweep Dallas if that's what
No.
happens.
I don't think we did either. I mean, we kind of were like a little hesitant with it. We were like Dallas, we kind of said to ourselves, we saw how we played against them during the season and we realized it wasn't as easy as we thought. And now going into playoffs, we're like, all right, it seemed a little easier. Um, did I think that the Liberty and the Sun would be 1-1? No, but let's see.
Yeah, should be an enjoyable,
Oh,
weekend of sports, if nothing else, and that kicks off tomorrow with the playoff semi-finals, so we're looking forward to them. Also, coming up very soon, in the next couple of days, we will be launching our first women's soccer podcast across the pond, WSL, covering the Women's Super League in England. So you can catch that with Caroline and Lizzie. That will be launching in the next couple of days or so. So we'll put some social media out and stuff so people can follow that. And don't forget to tune in to Across the Pond Liberty if you are a Liberty fan somehow listening to this. Their episode is out as well at the moment. And Across the Pond WNBA with myself and Michelle. We're going to deep dive into the playoffs, but also some other stories as well. That'll probably be out after Friday night's games. So look out for that. And on that bombshell, Samantha, it was nice to have you back this week.
thank
Enjoy
you.
your week off next week.
Thank you. I'll make sure to take my auto pick, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Everyone have a good one, and we will see you all very soon.
Stay tuned.